Hey everyone, here for episode number 10 of the Real Estate Roundtable with Carl and Fabio. We got the full gang here today, and we're talking about a few topics. We're going to talk about an open house incident that happened and whether or not we think we should get rid of open houses altogether. We're going to talk about the real estate market. The housing market right now is a bit crazy, and that V-shaped recovery that they talked about a lot with the stock market. We're definitely seeing that in the real estate side. So we're going to show the numbers and kind of what those graphs look like. And then the last thing we're going to talk about is our property tour and our new scheduling. So anyway, first topic, open houses. Unfortunately, occasionally people get attacked at open houses, real estate agents. And that just happened recently in Virginia. Unfortunately, a real estate agent was in a home and she was doing an open house and someone came in and attacked her, hit her 10 times with a crescent wrench and put her in the ICU. She is expected to survive, but they don't know, if there's any permanent damage. And it's something that's unfortunate that happens in our industry. We hear about it from time to time. And, they always come out with safety procedures and recommendations. And it's a shame that that happens, but it is kind of an easy target because it's advertised and in areas that are a little bit more rural, those people might be alone. So, fortunately for us, we typically do open houses together. But what I found interesting about this topic is actually people are making arguments to maybe just cancel open houses altogether. That it's not worth the safety risk, that it is an easy target for people who want to cause harm. And so I wanted to discuss that because we have different ideas on open houses and sellers actually have different ideas. Buyers have different ideas. And so we want to discuss our thoughts on, are open houses worth it? So go ahead and I'll throw this over to Fabio because we talked about it a little bit before we started
I
recording.
feel like I always go first, so I was gonna give Carl a chance, but
I can go.
but
You want me to throw my opinion out there?
yeah, man, I want to hear your opinion.
So I like not having open houses for the fact that you're getting more qualified buyers and people, not so many looky-loos from the neighborhood and all that stuff. But I see it from both sides because when we have open houses and there's a lot of people there, I mean, it creates a sense of urgency for some people, but I don't know. I think not having open houses is, at least on for us, it's like better for business because we can qualify people before taking them out and make sure that they're real buyers, and then use those people to find other people. I mean, they have to reach out to people to get in these homes rather than just being able to walk right in.
Yeah,
Yeah. So that was part of the article that I read was that homes aren't really sold via open house anymore. The really open houses now are used by real estate agents like us to meet potential buyers who are in the market who don't have agents yet. I mean, in all reality, that's why open houses are part of our business plans, right? Is because we're going out trying to meet buyers. So, but does that really help sellers? And is that really worth the risks involved? Not just for us, because I've never felt at risk, but again, usually we're doing it together in a group setting. But also, I have felt that the seller's personal belongings might be at risk, and I always tell sellers to take personal belongings with them that are expensive or important to them. We try to keep an eye on people, but it's really hard to keep an eye on people all the time when it's busy.
I do agree with you to a certain extent. Where I think if open houses use properly with your marketing campaign when selling a home, I think they do benefit the seller in some point, right? Because if you do an open house, and what I mean do is like you do a good job at it and you shine light on that particular home, it can set you apart from a competing listing in the neighborhood, right? Because more neighbors come, more people are there, and you can share more feedback on the home to people that are coming through the doors Whereas if you're just throwing out signs and sitting in an open house and not even really talking up the house or talking up the neighborhood, then you don't add much value, right? So I think it's an open house per open house scenario on that end. I do think it benefits agents more than it benefits sellers, but I wouldn't say it doesn't benefit sellers. I think it benefits agents more in the sense that when we're there, we're there to gain business by putting our marketing out there for other sellers to see, hey, look, this is what we do to sell your home, hire us. Or to meet buyers, like you said, that are coming in that don't have an agent. And a lot of the times we use that as an interview where we can set ourselves apart from other agents, particularly in downtown, for example. When you live in a neighborhood and you know the buildings, you can really, really create a distinction between you as an area expert versus somebody that doesn't know the area very well. And that makes a big difference. So I think that's when open houses come in handy.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, our stance on open houses has always been that we do them. And this article kind of shed some light on topics that might be important. I will say our selling strategy has always been the same for at least the last 4 or 5 years. And that is, we typically tend to list property during the week, but hold all showings till the first open house to generate a lot of interest, a lot of activity all at once. Obviously, all this stuff is not relevant right now with COVID, and other states are able to do open houses. California is not. But with that being said, like, our strategy has always been the same with doing open houses, having a 3-hour window where we can get as many buyers in as we can, just to create a sense of urgency. And in some situations, we're talking 40 to 50 people. We've had as high as probably 100. So, and I think in that way, we're only doing it for the first weekend. And our point is to get as much interest possible, to get offers during that weekend or by Monday. And then hopefully the property is in escrow before the second weekend that it would be listed. After the first weekend, though, if we're doing open houses, I would make the argument and agree with Fabio that it does benefit the agent a lot more. At that point, serious buyers will just schedule appointments if they're interested. And people that are more looky-loos or sellers that might be thinking about getting into the market, those are the people that are going to come to the second, third, fourth, fifth open house. So does it really benefit our sellers? I tell people typically not, unless the property is vacant and staged, and it doesn't hurt anything to get many people in there. But if it's owner occupied, I think it hurts you more than it helps you. I think the first weekend of open houses is really what's meant to help you. And yeah, so I mean, that's kind of my take on it. Look, the whole safety concern is a valid concern, and it has happened a lot in the past, not just to women, it's happened to men as well. I've heard stories of people getting robbed. I've heard people's car getting stolen, people ambush them at the open house. But that's also a risk across the board. I mean, someone could just schedule a showing with us and do the same thing. We're often meeting people that we've never met before. We don't know them. And we're really trying to get an opportunity to get to know them. And I think we're just as at risk for a private showing for the first time.
And to be honest, in today's market, you don't even need an open house. I mean, you're getting so much attention with just technology. I mean, Matterport, you're pretty much walking through the house. Yes, it's a little bit different being there in person, but that's where you book the showings after seeing everything, the pictures in Matterport, read all the information, have an agent explain to you what certain things are. So I think it varies on the market too. Like right now, and it doesn't really make a difference. And I think that's a good segue into the other thing you wanted to talk about. I mean,
well, one more thing, because you just reminded me, that's one of the big things that getting rid of open houses they're talking about is how far technology's come. Yeah. And so in 2001, let's just say, about 15 to 20% of buyers found their home strictly by the open house, meaning that they were driving a neighborhood, they saw the signs, they saw the for sale sign, and they went into the home, they fell in love with it, bought it. About 15 to 20%. Now, in 2019, they're saying that number is as low as 6%, that over 50% of people find their property online. And really, they're seeing it in person for the second time. The first time is online, the second time is in person. So they're saying that with technology, there's no reason to do open houses that could put a seller or their agent in harm's way. You know, we've heard stories like stealing medication, things like that too. So yeah, so with that, we'll segue into the market, which is insane right now. I know that you were both showing property today, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Getting my butt kicked out there, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to share my screen and kind of go over some of the numbers because it's a little crazy. So San Diego, this is San Diego County. These are the active listings, and right now we're only at 4,485 listings in San Diego County. So the entire county only has 4,400 listings. As far as pendings, last month, 3,802 properties went pending. I mean, look at that! Look at that spike. So April, May, and June. June shot up, and then number of solds, it's going up. But again, solds kind of lags behind pendings, right? Because properties are typically in escrow for about 30 days. So it is crazy out there right now, partially because of interest rates, and partially because of, let's be honest, like people are tired of where they live. If you don't have enough room right now, or you live in an apartment that's too small, or you don't like your roommates, like you're probably pretty eager to get out right now. And I think that's what we're seeing. In downtown, the numbers look pretty similar actually. I wasn't sure how downtown was going to react to the market now, just given that higher density might be considered a downside. And you know, a lot of the downtown lifestyle is interaction with other people, and since we're so limited, I thought that might be affected a little bit. But this is downtown's curve for pending listings, and it shot up in June. It's up 50% from June of 2019, which is crazy. And it's the highest it's been, the most pendings in 1 month, going back like over 3 years, 3.5 years. Number of sold listings, we expected April and May to be pretty bad. It shot up to 60 in June, and I think that's going to be between 75 and 80 probably in July. So, I mean, we're seeing a lot more activity, and active listings has stayed about the same, but more stuff is selling now finally. Last thing we'll talk about is county-wide. One thing that I forgot to mention is a lot of these homes right now, if we look at under $1 million, that's really where you're seeing the most activity. So under $1 million, oops, having technical.
That's a concerning part of the inventory.
Yeah, so under $1 million for a detached home right now in San Diego, it's extremely competitive. There's 2,791 properties in San Diego County that are under $1 million. Once we go to detached, so single family homes, that number drops to 1,212 properties, 1,212 houses under $1 million in San Diego.
I wish there was a way to see how many buyers are out there.
Well, look at the pendings.
So just multiply
1,802.
Multiply the 1,200 homes by like 10, because each house is getting 10 offers.
Yeah, I mean, look at the pendings. 1,802 went pending, but there's only 1,200 listed right now.
Yep.
Under $1 million. So that just tells you, like, people are looking for houses under $1 million right now. The amount of activity is insane. Less than a month's supply, 0.9 months supply, and that doesn't even reflect demand appropriately because there's so many people writing offers on the same properties. So it just shows you it is insane right now out there. 99.2% lists the sales price, meaning that people are basically getting their list price on average, and it's just really, really active out there. So
I'm curious, why do you guys think the inventory is so low? Like, do you guys really think people are just scared to sell because of the virus? I initially thought people weren't selling because they thought there were no buyers, but I think it's pretty obvious now that there's tons of buyers out there right now. So in your opinion, what do you think is creating that shortage?
I mean, letting people into your home is one, especially if you have kids. I mean, why put them at risk unless you need to move? So that's number one. Number two, maybe they're already at the top of their price range. So if they bought in the last 2 years and aren't ready to go to that next price range, not ready to get more space, it's just maybe isn't the right time for them. Maybe they're deciding to refinance because rates are so low right now.
That's true. Yeah.
I think that a lot of people are moving to single family homes right now and out of condos. And I think, that's a big driver of the market, especially in areas where, maybe condos are going for 300,000 to 400,000, maybe even up to like 500,000 for townhomes. And you can get a detached home for 550, 600. Like people are making that jump up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I think there's just not enough people willing to let people in their homes right now. Maybe they think it's a bad time. So I mean, the news is pretty positive, actually. Go ahead.
Last month, the headline was sales all across San Diego dropped 40%.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And then the next line is like, yeah, but prices increased 23%. I'm like, what?
Yeah, sales dropped because, well, first off, we couldn't really show property
There's nothing to sell.
March to April, and then there's nothing to sell. So like, of course, the amount of property is gonna sell. So maybe people are just reading headlines and not the actual articles, but the market is insane right now. So if you're selling a detached home right now, you're in a pretty good spot.
If you're thinking about selling and are thinking in the back of your mind, you're like, oh, it might not be a good time. It's a great time to take advantage right
now.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So we've been trying to find property off market right now with sellers directly because we can't find property for buyers. It's crazy right now. I mean, we just sent out, 850 letters to people because we have 4 different families looking in similar areas. So yeah, I mean, it's insane. So the last thing, we're going to change up our schedule of doing these videos. We're going to do them once every 2 weeks now. With everything going on, it's getting a lot busier. It's harder for all 3 of us to meet at the same time. And, between showing property, getting listings ready and everything, we just figured that we'd cut it down to once every 2 weeks and still provide really good content. But the next part of that too is we are going to continue doing the home tours. We got a lot of really good feedback on that. So we're going to continue doing home tours. Those are going to be every 2 weeks. So we're going to stagger them, and then we'll include the home tour from the previous week in the video for the next week, if that makes sense. So hope you guys enjoy the content here. I know several people have reached out to me about different things. Someone actually was talking about auctions the other day. They saw the video and we're wondering about that. So still not seeing a whole lot of them, I'm glad, but it sounds like they might start popping up a little bit more. But do you guys have anything else to add? No. All right. Sounds good. And we made it to 10. So see you guys at episode 11 of the Real Estate Roundtable.
See you guys.
Bye.